work or other kinds of political advocacy that is much more campaign driven, where you're working with candidates and stuff like that. So we want to have a maximum impact in 2026 because, as everybody knows, 2026 is a big year. We've got a lot of important elections, anything, the House of Representatives, congressional races, and then we also have our governor's race. So it's a big year, and we want to be able to really make an impact and have an effect. So I kind of wanted to just briefly open it up to the people on here. Some of you I know have been kind of watching Project Civica from afar. Some of you maybe just are reading our emails. Some of you have been more intimately involved in what we've been doing action-wise. Just what did you guys think was the most impactful or impressive or cool or whatever you want to call it? Like, what stands out to you in your mind this past year that we worked on? If somebody wants to jump in, raise your hand, and I'll have you let us know. Anybody have anything? Otherwise, you're gonna have to hear me tell you what I think. Well, one of the things I think we did pretty well was we did freedom of information law training. And we,
Marie has,
what?
I thought Anne Marie has her hand up.
Yeah, I know. I'm going into that, John. You let me segue. You let me segue. And so one of the things I think we did that was really good, we had a lot of civic education this year, and we did freedom of information law training, not only just the basics, but we did like a 101, and then we did a 201, how to do appeals and how to actually, we even took it to the third step here in at Project Civica. We had people who did freedom of information law, or one person anyways, who did a freedom of information law request, and he was denied. And we, as a team, supported him in doing a pro se lawsuit, an Article 78 lawsuit in Monroe County, which he was successful in doing. And one of the big people who was helpful in all of that is Anne Marie Reeb. She also did understanding your municipal budget, kind of like local Doge efforts. So you could learn about that. And those recordings are on, I believe, our Vimeo page. So, Anne Marie, I know you had your hand up. I kind of segued into you, kind of a long way, but what was your thoughts?
Well, first I wanted to say about your reports. I'd like seeing you put out your data. I'd like to see not just more data, but I'd like to see a full report that instead of you being undercut by other entities doing the same research that don't have as much data as you do, to see you improve upon those reports so that you can get more press coverage. Because one of the things I've learned is press coverage puts you in the forefront. People listen more. People in the public offices want to know more about what you do. And they maybe it might be time to start looking at actually putting together your own legislative bill and trying to get support for it. So the reports I think would be really great. And doing your own putting together your own legislative bill to help improve. Is everyone still there? I can't tell.
You're still there.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay, so I think that you could actually put together a legislative bill instead of asking, public officials to look into changing things. Maybe you should put the bill together and ask them to endorse it and carry it forward.
Well, one of the things you're talking about, we are about ready to publish. So I don't know if everybody can see on our screen the report that is about to go out. So I guess I took your advice ahead of time. I was prescient and we took your advice ahead of time, and we have a report that is in the final, what would you say? We're working on kind of
Final
the
edits.
edits, yes,
Right.
on it. So we'll be we're trying to get it out a little sooner before the holidays, and now that we're getting into the holidays, I think we're gonna probably maybe hold off until January 1 to get it out there. But in any case, that's coming. We did it. We've got one going out, and just so everybody knows, a private copy of this report was delivered to several Congress folks. I will say it was also delivered to the DOJ, and it was delivered to the White House as part of a multi-state report that we were asked to participate in. So, yeah, I can't say too much more than that, but yeah, we're kind of making sure we don't have any mistakes in there, and making it a little bit more readable and stuff like that. And well, there's no way not to be somewhat technical when you're dealing with election law, but we're doing that. But I agree, Anne Mary, 100% that that would be a good thing. And then in terms of legislation. Yes, it's something that's on our minds. I don't know that we've actually got something written, but we have been working with a group called the Election Integrity Network, and we actually have, I think she's here. I thought I let her in.
I am
Yes.
here. I'm here.
You are okay. Sarah Vieira from the Election Integrity Network. She is involved in helping all the coalitions out there from many states. And I recently was at a Northeast summit that she organized. And I'm still a little miffed because they didn't think New York was part of the Northeast, but I think we are. Or New England, I should say, New England.
Yeah, it was New
But
England.
anyways, New England. But this is Sarah. And Sarah, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about what EIN is and what they're doing? We're going to have them back in the new year to talk a little bit more in detail about all the stuff they've got going on. But they have come up with some model legislation with the help of multiple states. So we've been participating in that all year long to come up with a whole bunch of stuff. So, and they're letting that out of the bag, I think, right now.
Yes.
Ready to be put out there publicly. So, everybody say hello to Sarah, and why don't you just kind of briefly talk about EIN?
Sure. Thanks for having me on tonight. I am really excited. I am actually from Rhode Island, so I'm almost a neighbor, I guess. And so I am the coalitions director. So basically, my job is to onboard new states that are interested in getting involved with Election Integrity Network, and also provide resources. That's what we are. We're a network. And you guys in Project Civica are awesome. And I think you guys are doing such great work. I've been following you for a couple of years now, so even before I started working at EIN. So big fan. But yes, that's true. We are getting our model policy booklet that all of the states have helped us carve out is going to be dropping right after the new year. And after I'm done speaking, I can try to get the link up, because digital copies will be available first before obviously a print copy. But I think it will be very helpful for you when you're starting to work with legislators in your state. It's basically like a plug and play. Once you figure out where you have your holes in your legislation, the holes that you want to plug, you can look into our booklet. We'll have a huge appendix at the back, which was a really big hit last week when we were at the legislative conference in Texas, talking to legislators about this booklet. They were very excited about it. And so if you have legislators that are involved in ALEC, you can look it up online to see if there's anybody from New York. I don't know if there is or not. There are different factions of ALEC that work on just elections. There's also healthcare, tax reform, all of those different factions. But we're very excited about the legislative model policy booklet coming out. So,
can you tell everybody what ALEC is? Because I'm not sure if some of the people would even know.
Sure. It's the American Legislative Executive Council, and your legislators actually have to pay a nominal fee to be involved in this council. They can decide which area of expertise they would like to work on in their state. And they meet online and they have biannual meetings. They just met in Texas last week to really work on model policy and hammer down the policies that they want to work on. We're obviously very involved with the election integrity piece. We brought a policy up to the table talking about voter protections, election day, getting to small precincts, moving away from voting centers. So we basically were really pushing Cleta and our team were pushing that policy forward. Cleta Mitchell is our founder. And so there are other ways that, like I said earlier, if you're involved in education and you want to work on policy for education in your state, your legislator might be involved in that committee. And you can look it up online. I can try to find it really quick when I'm done speaking as well, and drop the link in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
And again, we were going to have them back in the new year. We're trying to figure out a date for Thursday, and we'll have them back. And hopefully we can get Cleta on sometime to talk about something too. That would be pretty cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on what we did well this past year? Suggestions for improvements? Anybody else? Otherwise, like I said, you get to hear me tell you what I think. Anne Marie, while we've got you, do you want to talk about, you had wanted to add a little bit about FOIL?
Sure. So as all of you know, my expertise is in, foiling government records and training people, as well as open meetings law, municipal finance. So I just wanted to touch base on a few things regarding FOIL, little tricks of the trade, I guess you could say. So recently, it happens quite often, even with me, where you put in a FOIL request and they respond and they don't really provide you all the records. And you could go right to a FOIL appeal, which is going to take about 10 business days from the time they receive your appeal. Or you can try to request the reopening of your FOIL request. And that also will buy you time as well on an appeal. But if you ask for the reopening of your FOIL request and they grant it, it may be because they didn't provide all the records and you pointed out what records were missing, and you were able to show that that was part of your request. And a lot of times they are willing to help you with that only because they're scared of it going to an appeal. Because if it goes to appeal, then, it's kind of blowback for them. They didn't do their job. And the appeal officer might say, I shouldn't have had to do this because there was no reason you couldn't have provided this. So a lot of times they want to head that off. So we actually had one today. We worked on, me and John, and John submitted a FOIL, a request to reopen his FOIL. Not only did they reopen it, they filled it today. So he had missing records in a voter list, and it just, again, you got to try all different tricks because you never know what they're gonna, when they're going to actually accommodate and when they're not going to. I mean, worst came to worse, it extended his time to appeal. Otherwise, he would have had appeal by January 1st. Now, because they've answered him, that's a reopening of the FOIL and a reclosing of the FOIL. And now the 30 days goes from that date forward. So today's the 11th. Now he would have had till like January 12th to appeal. So it's never a negative unless they just don't answer you or whatever. But you know what? It looks great on an appeal when you actually reach back out to them to try to get them to actually fulfill the full request. So that was that. The other thing I wanted to give was an update. So there were several bills that we're trying to get into law this year, and two of those bills were on FOIL. Okay, and I want to talk about one specifically, and actually it was a bill I did not support. What it did was it required agencies who tend to, extend their time limit in order to provide you the records. So you FOILed your records, they acknowledged you in 5 business days. Oh, we need 20 extra days, and then they keep extending it. Okay, they actually really can't. After 20 business days, they can say, well, I will have the records to you by this date. But they can't get really another extension of 20 days. You just got to know the law. But this bill was to actually change the 20 days, and no longer would it take 20 days to get your record, it would have taken 60. Now you just think about the fact of you're filing for a record for a public hearing, and that public hearing, say, is going to take place in 3 weeks, and it's an easy thing that you're asking for, and they just want to really piss you off, and they're going to hold it for the full 60 days. Now, what good is it because the public hearing is over? Okay, so that was why I was against it, because it really did not support the people's needs. It was more for like attorneys and so forth who are trying to get state agencies records or whatever, and they want it in a period of time where they can't keep extending. Okay, but that's just because they're not willing to do the work to do the appeal and so forth and move forward. I don't know why they're doing this, but I was very thrilled to see Hochul vetoed it. Though there was another bill out there that would allow for more transparency in public records when you foiled, and she vetoed that too. As far as I know, in the last several years, there's been really nothing that she has passed to offer transparency to the public. So other than last year, they changed all the government websites. So every municipality, school districts, and so forth had to go to a .gov website. That was a positive for a lot of people where their government agency was not using a government website like a .gov, a .us. What they were using in some cases were private funders would actually hold their website, and they would put up the documents as they saw fit. So they were private entities with a lot of money. Oh, I'll create your website for you. But oh, no, let's not give that to the people. We'll put up your minutes and so forth. So the government said no more of that. You all have to have a .gov website, and you can't just put up, they didn't want other people controlling the government websites because you don't know if the information is really valid. You don't know if it's real government information or official records. So that was a really positive plus. And I believe they all have till December, which we're in right now. So probably by the end of this year to be compliant with the state law and making their site a .gov. And I can tell you, I am seeing it out there where they are all moving to .gov. There are a few that have not gone there yet, so we'll have to see how that works. And there are exceptions based on their budget. Like if they can't, they don't have a website, obviously they don't have to do a .gov or put one up. And depending on, because some municipalities, have 693 residents in their town. Do you really think they're going to be able to afford to put up a website and maintain it? So there were exceptions to that.
Can I,
Okay,
you
so-
reminded me of, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, Danielle, I know you had a question. I saw your
No,
hand
go
was.
ahead.
You reminded me of two things. One is that we have the initiative coming up with the SAVE system that's on, the Eric bill is on Kathy Hochul's desk. You were talking about what's on Kathy Hochul's desk. So that was something that reminded me of something coming up in the future, which is a very good thing, a call to action. And the other thing that I think we did very well was our collaboration with other groups in nationally and in other states. I think that the way forward with our freedom movement, with our government accountability movement, with giving people the tools to oversee their government is to collaborate. We do not have the big dollars that I'm going to just say the communist infiltration has. We just don't have those dollars, but we do have, so we need to support one another. And I think that we have been doing a very good job, and we've been connecting with a lot of groups that are like-minded, that are willing to share and collaborate and support one another in a variety of areas. Either legislation or research. Our research team was wonderful this year. We worked with other states. We got data from other states. We were able to compare through national groups. So that I think that is it was such a gift. It actually was very touching, and it's like like you just understand like humanity. We together are going to do something for the good, like all working for the good, and it was a very good experience. It's a family experience, so I really think that was a blessing this year. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that, Kim.
Yeah, no, and that actually would lead me to, I think, one of the top things I think we did extremely well this year. And I think the thing that helped us the most, especially in research, was the partnership we developed with the New Jersey, I forget what Election Integrity for New Jersey, I think is their official title. We met with them early in the year, and Mark Demo is his name, Demo. I'm not sure which one it is. I was just calling Mark, but he showed us this platform, and I was like, "Oh, wow! How do you do that?" And he got us on board. We started sharing data with New Jersey. We were able to get voter rolls from Florida because New Jersey is very similar to New York in that the top two places people move around to, obviously number one was Florida. And in New Jersey, especially close to New York City and like Orange County, there's a lot of crossover where people move across the line back and forth. So we were able to, compare roles. We have a scorecard now that every month we collect the data from New York State voter rolls. And we analyze it through this platform that Mark has, and it gives us a scorecard that we have a volunteer who captures the data for us. She's been putting together a Substack, so once a month look for that Substack and you'll see the latest numbers. Unfortunately, they don't necessarily change a lot. The problems are still there, but at least it gives us data to work with so we can attack those problems and try to work on them. And I think you'll see in the report when we do release it, a lot of the information in it was, this partnership we had with New Jersey was just instrumental. And then somehow we found EIN. I still don't remember how, but yeah, that has been just a wonderful partnership. And also Cause of America, we work with Cause of America. They are the ones who got us the national change of address data. So we were able to really see how many New Yorkers have voted with their feet, if you will. And have moved out of state and moved on. And the problem is they're still on the voter rolls. They're not being removed. New York has well over 1 million people on I think it's like 1.8 million people, if I remember correctly, who have not voted in the last 2 federal cycles and probably are all moved out of state. We also have well over 1 million people who have never voted ever. They registered to vote and never voted. And then just the being able to get on some of these national meetings and hearing from other people, other groups across the states, some of their ideas have really helped us stay focused on what we, need to do in New York. And some ideas, just to do research, some ideas to push forward. We got involved with the SAVE Act. So it gets confusing because the federal government likes acronyms, right? So there's the SAVE Act, which is in Congress. That was the one we were collecting petition signatures on. And we use that not only to educate, which was a big component to teach people about the whole idea of only citizens voting and what New York what's happening in New York. But we also were able to use that to increase our reach. And that was a big part of why we went from about just under 1,000 active contacts at the beginning of the year to well over 3,500 contacts now on our database, which is pretty impressive in 1 year, considering we're in New York and things are challenging. So we've definitely nearly tripled the number of people who are getting our emails. We're very consistent in getting a weekly email out. And when the legislature was in session, there was a weekly call to action as part of it. Phone calls to make, emails to make, Things that you could easily do. We created the language, so all you had to literally do is grab it, maybe tweak a couple of words and send your email off or send your snail mail letter off, or even we even gave a script so that if you were making a phone call, you would know exactly what to say, so you wouldn't feel nervous about it. And then we educated right along with that on every single one of those issues. So we are planning to do that again in 2026. I see Stephen's got his hand up. So Stephen, what did you want to jump in and say?
Well, you were talking about, well, this is actually a perfect segue. So you were talking about the Only Citizens Vote campaign and our push to, along with the EIN and the Tea Party Patriots, to push to pass the SAVE Act. And I'd be remiss if we didn't give a shout out and a hearty thank you to the America First Warehouse.
Yes.
I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but it's an amazing facility in Hauppauge, New York, that's Suffolk County. It's near Islip MacArthur Airport. They have been so helpful to us and so collaborative, yes. And they helped us with the campaign for the Only Citizens Vote. They got signatures during their events. They allowed us to come into their events and collect signatures ourselves. They came to rallies that we went to and supported us. They did video production, right, with for us and helped make our videos and commercials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you were talking about collaboration and partnerships, I think they have to be at the top of the list, and they've just been a fantastic helper for us, and really did a lot to further our organization.
Yeah, so that would be, I think, more of a in the state collaborative partner. I would, although they have some national, exposure, that's for sure. One of our goals for the year coming up is to do better at connecting with various groups in New York State. We've already made some strides. I've been pretty active with Constitutional Coalition in this area, speaking at a couple of the various groups that are working on different issues in New York, or in Western New York area. But we really need to connect with all these groups that are working on their individual issues, because elections is the thing that brings us all together, all these groups together. It's that's how our elected representatives are the ones making the laws in Albany. They're the ones that the elections basically are that basic building block, that foundation that joins all of us together in our efforts. And so I agree. I know Danielle has worked with a few groups in the Hudson Valley. I don't know if you want to mention a couple of the people that we've collaborated with in the state, but I also want to mention Lulu Freistad of Smart Elections. She's been a huge help. And I don't know, she's statewide, but she's also somewhat national. And we collaborated with her last year on a poll watching program, and we did it again this year. And we're working with her on even more plans for next year in New York. So when people work together, and I would say she's more left leaning, as we're more right leaning, but where we agree, we can push the bar. So Danielle, I see you have your hand up again.
Yeah, I was going to mention that we're talking about these issues. There's so many issues that we're involved with. Even Stephen, you brought up, we've been talking about the medical freedom strides that have been made through the courts and the legislature, and things are being revealed. And it all comes down to who's in office. So whatever area that you're really interested, you're passionate, or is affecting your life, elections are the foundation. So we put out a survey. We did not get a great response. We did get some responses, but not a great response, because we really want to hear from everybody on this call, what are the issues that really matter to you? Because that is important to us. It does come down to election, it does come down to government oversight, but if you could let us know those areas that are important to you and areas that you think we should jump into. I know, like Kim and I have been talking about, there's so much going on with the election machines, and we do have initiatives in election integrity and with the Express Vote Excel and the registration. There are a lot of areas of election integrity we can tackle, but what is important to you is important to us. So we would like to hear from you, and even if you say, oh, this, we don't trust anybody in office, whatever it is, please, let us know. And also that we are going to be expanding what we do next year. We have a plan, and we would like to invite everybody to be part of that. So if you have a particular area, please let us know for that also, for that ends. We appreciate all of you very much, by the way. So thank you so much for being here too. So.
Anne Marie?
Yeah, so I'd like to ask Danielle, so when you put this information out and say, could you get back to us on, what's important to you? I think I don't know how you do it, so I just would like to know, do you break it down by local, state, federal? Because as you know, local is where you have the largest voice. After that, your voice gets smaller and smaller.
Yes.
So maybe my suggestion would be, and I don't know if you already do this, is to first say to them, what's a problem at your local level? In your own municipality, okay? Where are the issues? Then you could do county, and then you could do state, and then you could do federal, and maybe ask them to provide 3 suggestions in each, or, their top 3, top 2, whatever. Because then you might get a better understanding, especially if you notice that they put in 3 in for local, 3 in for county, 3 in for state, and 1 in for federal. So that means their focus lies more in their local area than it does at the federal level.
Yeah.
Again,
we see that a lot in New York City, a lot with zoning issues or things like that. So it does come down to local, and that's why we have the precinct strategy to get involved, the committee, to get involved in your local committees, people. There's training, and we try to train for people to get involved locally. Exactly, that's where we can affect the most. But people are concerned about, larger issues. So, but we have more effect on the local level. Exactly. You're right. We did a survey. We sent out a survey, and then of course I talked to a lot of people, and I'm always asking people what they want or what they think and their ideas. But
Danielle, maybe you could find the link to that survey and put it in the chat. Maybe.
Yeah, let me find it. Yeah, I'll try to find it.
It's not obvious on our website. That's the problem. So interestingly, Anne Marie, I actually wrote a Substack on just what you're talking about. I'm going to see if I can find the link. And that
Project Civica Substack, subscribe. They're really good. We have a lot of people writing for us, like different people on the team. They come up with ideas.
You know what? You guys have talked to me about Substacks before, but I still feel like I'm dumb when it comes to that. I know that's kind of weird for me, but I really don't understand it. I don't understand where to find it or how to get into it or what's in it. What is a Substack? I hear it all the time. I know Kim probably went over it with me before, but as she knows, I've been working on a lot of Article 78 lawsuits, and my brain is kind of fried right now. So I can only do so much. And as you know, I work all over the state, so I have clients everywhere who contact me on a daily basis to the point where I can't even get my own stuff done. So,
well, we definitely knew about that because it's
I know you guys went over with me. I need a training. I need a Substack training.
A training on Substack. I'm going to try to see if I can get you a link to at least
I'll get it. I'll get the link, Kim.
If you can email me, Danielle, or put it in our chat, that would be great. I promise.
Substack to me is kind of like an online newspaper or online magazine, if you will, where people write various things on all sorts of subjects. And you can follow different people and read the articles, the information.
Okay, so if they're doing articles, where are those articles coming out? In the Substack?
In the Substack, yeah. So
Oh.
it's another app. I know it's another app. But
That's I just
but
wondered,
it's
I thought no lie, I thought it was the data you're pulling together and it was put in a quote Substack.
That's what we did with it initially is as we would come up with something like walking with your feet after we analyzed all the NCOA data that we got from that report, I put together a Substack, and then that's kind of where I was publishing a lot of the data initially. And then it actually worked out very well because as we were doing this report, I could go back to those Substacks, pull out that information because I had already researched the law and that kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
and then kind of use that to help me write the different sections of our report. So it was a good place to get the information out. I could make it a little bit more user friendly. But I did a Substack called Ordo Amoris. I probably butchered that Latin name. Have we inverted civic responsibility? About the idea that everybody always pays attention to national politics when it's the local ones that affect us the most. And it was in response to an online Twitter or X debate that was going on between JD Vance and I forget who the other person was, but they had done a whole thing on civic responsibility. And so I did and I'll put a link to it in the chat. It was one of the early ones we did. And so that actually is kind of interesting too, because we started the year out with 9 people, just 9, that's it, 9 people following our Substack. And we have ended the year with, I think now 80 people on the Substack and well over 4.1 million views, or sorry, thousand views.
Wow.
So quite a improve, yeah. And one of the things I'm super proud of is I didn't want it to just be a voice of me and Danielle. I wanted anybody to be able to get their opinion and their thoughts on whatever subject it is out there. And if we can build the Substack up, there'll be a lot of voices being able to publish off of one Substack. And to me, it's all about as many voices as we possibly can and getting people. I'm a personal trainer, as many of you know, in my real job, but that's what I call a civic muscle, right? Getting your civic muscle and getting used to giving your opinion and giving it in a way that's supported by facts and data and references and doing having to put together an article. It's not that hard to do a little one. And, I'm happy to edit and help you through it, Danielle too, and then get it out there. So we have, I think Stephen Schur is about to have one published. John had one published. Danielle actually had one of her articles. It was so good when she wrote it. We submitted it to American Thinker and it got published by American Thinker. So I don't know if we ever actually put that one in the Substack, but if it's that good, and I'm like, we're bowled over, we'll submit it to other publications to see if we can get it put out nationally. Who else did it? Who else am I missing?
Steve?
I said Steve. Yeah, Steve Gillen. Yeah, I thought there was somebody else I'm missing.
One, you talked about that?
Which one?
Patrick.
Oh, Patrick. How could I forget? Yeah, Patrick had an idea of going through God.
Federalist Papers.
Federalist Papers, thank you. And just reading, like how many of you guys read the Federalist Papers? I think I may have had to read sections of it in high school or maybe, maybe college, possibly. But by doing it week by week or every couple of weeks, it might take us 2 years to get through, but we'll have read the Federalist Papers together. And so he's done 2 installments on it already. He puts his opinion in there, kind of helps you understand what it's saying, and then you can just read that little snippet. And in the meantime, we're also educating about our founding fathers. Because of the 3 people who were involved with the Federalist Papers. They wrote under a name, a pseudonym, but it was actually one of the pseudonym. One of the people is John Jay, who is a New Yorker. So it was like perfect, especially with 250 years, a celebration coming up of America. It was like perfect to do. So that's another thing you can, another reason to follow it. So it's kind of like a book club, but a little low key. And maybe that's an idea that we have a discussion about it every once in a while, and do a book club on it. That's might be a thought if we find time. So let me put that in the chat, and you can. So I'm putting the one I wrote about, local, being local, having much more of an impact there, and then that'll get you to the Substack. So, anything else, Danielle? Do you want to talk a little bit about what we're planning for the SAFE system next year? And actually, we're hoping EIN will help us with. We'll be doing something nationally too on this, because we need to educate our legislators on what it is. But in New York, we doubt anybody knows what the SAFE system is, and we want to use it as a pressure point locally to put pressure on the state to not only for the voter rolls, but also some of the other ways that non-citizens are on different like what's the word I'm looking for?
Social services and things like that.
Services and things like that. So and we're going to try to use it as a way to get people to go get used to going to their legislators and their legislature to speak, or their town board or whatever, and get people trying to get out there and speaking. So getting up off the couch and using that civic muscle, if you will. Go ahead, Danielle.
Well, what was really good during doing the SAVE Act petitions, the Only Citizens Can Vote petitions, people became very informed, and they were able to talk about it. And like you said, it's education for the person carrying the petition and to everybody they connect with. And these are civic points that are good discussions. Instead of complaining about what's going on, we're actually discussing things that can be done about it. And the same thing with the SAFE system. We did some education on ERIC. There's a couple of Substacks on them. We did some legislative advocacy in Albany with it. We spoke to legislators up there, and so it was a very good thing. But like we were talking about, local is also good. The SAFE system is available locally. I don't think it's not gonna pass. We actually spoke to who did we speak to? Oh, Scoofus's office, and they were supporting Eric, and they were very adamant about it. And
so you may need to tell people what ERIC is. We may have a couple people on here who aren't familiar with it is.
I don't know what it stands for.
Electronic Registration Information Center, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
What it is it's a 501c3 nonprofit, and states can join it, and they would give their voter rolls to this nonprofit, and the nonprofit is supposed to help, quote unquote, clean up the voter rolls. So they run the records, and then they give the state back a list, supposedly, of people who have moved out of state or have died. And then it's still up to the state to clean the rolls or take those names off, or do or stop the process that federal law requires. But it's a nonprofit. It's not foilable. So in other words, if you want to get information, because it's a private entity, you cannot do a Freedom of Information request. It costs states to join it. And then the other piece of it that, just there's a bunch of other pieces to it. It's Soros funded, basically. It's funded by I can't think of some of the different agencies, organizations that fund it, but basically it's funded by left-leaning organizations, and it has a requirement in it that they identify people who are not registered to vote, and require local counties, but local boards of elections, to reach out to those people to get them to register to vote. So it's kind of like a voter registration drive, which is not the function of government. I'm like, we don't necessarily want our government to do that. Obviously, anybody who's able to, who's supposed to be voting, a citizen, anybody legally able to vote should be, registered. But many of these people have chosen not to, and so you're reaching out to them. So anyways, that's just an overview of it. This bill, New York wants to join ERIC, and there's a bill that's sitting on Kathy Hochul's desk that she has not signed.
Yeah, and it's in it is in it the wording says an ERIC-like system. So we're advocating for the SAVE system and letting our local officials know, because it's also available. When President Trump came into office, the SAVE system has been around for a while. It's a bunch of federal databases that are available that already have our information. It's overseen by the Department of Homeland Security. Is that the oversight? Yeah.
Immigration.
And so the Department of Homeland Security oversees it. So it gives, I believe, it was just confirmed that it can identify non-citizens. And so this SAVE system is available to municipalities and to states who want to have a free system to run their voter rolls through. It's been around for a while and accessible to the states, but you had to pay for it, and you could only put one entry in at a time to check. And when President Trump came into office, they changed that, and there was some kind of deal made that it would become
Danielle, there was a lawsuit last year brought by several states because they wanted to check their voter rolls for citizens and non-citizenship, and they hit a big roadblock. So a number of states sued over it, and there was just a settlement. But in Trump's executive order in March, he also addressed this too and kind of cleared some of the hurdles. So that was what also was involved.
I believe in New York, even the counties can only check one at a time. The system, I don't think they can they can check the state. I think they can only check one at a time. I remember when we found there were multiples of different people with the same identifiers, and if the counties wanted to check, they had trouble. I don't know why it's such a difficult thing to do, to check all this information. But you had mentioned to me today, when I brought up the SAVE system, that there was an issue where, was it proven, or was it somehow individuals' information leaked or given to somebody that it shouldn't have been through the through ERIC system? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was ERIC. Yeah,
is there a confirmed issue with that? I know that you can't FOIL, and you don't know what the nonprofit, they're not overseen by the people of the state. But is there a confirmed case where that was?
Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but yes, there was, where ERIC gave out personal information to another nonprofit organization, I believe. So I'd have to look up more details about exactly what that was, because I can't remember exactly. But yeah, that did happen.
You know so much more about this. You should be talking.
Yeah, I know snippets, and I never stories. I have to go look it up. But anyway, it's just sometimes too much to remember it all. But I want to mention the Common Sense contract with New York and New York City as well. We had 15 candidates sign on to the Common Sense contract with New York City, and one of them actually won and will be in Albany, or no, sorry, in the City Council. And so that was a success. And some of the efforts that we did, which included streaming a commercial into people's homes, so we picked like a certain demographic and we streamed commercials in, and the districts where these candidates were, we tracked some of the data in previous election years, and there was definitely an increase in the turnout. Now, obviously, it was a pretty contentious election in New York City, so I'm not claiming that our commercials, was the only reason why the turnout was a little higher. But at the same time, when we've dug into the data in New York City and Queens, one of our volunteers, it's very apparent that the Democrats came out, and a young demographic came out as well. But the in blanks or no party affiliated stayed home. And so the fact that the turnout was a little better in these districts may very well have been because of the efforts that the candidates took, and the help well, we didn't help the candidate, but we tried to give them a platform that they could use to run off of that was common sense. So that was a success as well.
Yeah, that's the number one complaint, is having a candidate that represents your values and will advocate for you. So the common sense contract are issues that mean the most to the people in that area or that district. So this year we did New York City. So the platform was the 7 most important issues for people in New York City. So
yeah, it was, and that was super interesting. Any other thoughts on what we did?
I put the Eric bill up from the
Yeah, I
Senate.
saw that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I checked on that, and that is still sitting on the governor's desk.
Yeah.
But she's vetoed, like, I think I should go back and look before I open my mouth, but she's vetoed about half of the bill so far. And some she's approved, but not in the areas of government transparency or things like that, elections. It's education and something else. Housing, I think, maybe, but not where she's only focusing in very distinct areas, and she's not really paying attention to the rest of the people of the state. That's my opinion of it. Like she really does not give us a lot of open government transparency. She talks about it. She's a good talker about open government, but she doesn't follow through in action. You know, and talk is cheap. Sorry.
Exactly. One other thing I want to mention is we had a website last year, and we hired a company to come up with a modern, professional looking website. And so it was way harder to do than we thought to create a new website. But if you haven't looked at our website recently, well, not recently, if you haven't looked at it since last year, I guess, but there is a new we did create a whole new website with like links to all the different initiatives. All the initiatives have a ton of information on it, that you can, like, I'll click into data research, it tells you when the meetings are, just information, some videos on some of the research we found. So all the initiatives are there. So that was a big project for 6 months plus out of the year. And believe it or not, we're still working on a few little details. Somebody messaged me the other day, and there's, you can read something 100 times over and still miss the typo. So somebody found something recently.
And it's not 100% up to date, but
you got to work on it. Yeah.
I think you guys are starting to get your emails or
Finally,
your notifications.
Yeah, that was a big issue. We've been trying for several months to get that.
Yeah. So,
but the other thing I want to mention is if everybody should put April 27th, especially if you live in Western New York, on your calendars, because the next we did a fundraiser and an educational event last year in the spring. I guess it was more in June. This one's going to be a little earlier, called The Courage of Freedom. And we had 3 different, people, leaders locally in Western New York, or nationally, actually. David DiPietro, who is been voted the most conservative legislator in Albany. And I think he's one of the only legislators in the state that was state legislators that were endorsed by Trump. He spoke. We had Deb Conrad speak about medical freedom. She's from Rochester, but she has become more nationally known. And then Al Robinson, who is a pastor in the city of Buffalo, in one of the worst districts of Buffalo. and he spoke as well. And if you are on X, his account is a great account to follow, by the way, because he just doesn't hold back on what he thinks at all. So, but anyways, we had that event, but the new event will be, or this year's event will be April 27th, which is a Thursday night. And we have both, for people in Western New York, we have both Finn guys speaking. So they do a radio show on Saturday afternoons where politics meets money, basically. And so it's a great show. And we also have um, the Hammer Time guy, and I'm blanking on it. Ron Cortez is also speaking as well. So all three of them have radio shows as well as their own businesses. Ron Cortez has been big in fighting against the electricity mandate, and eliminating natural gas. So he's going to be one of our speakers as well. So we're really excited about that. So I have to come up with a title yet, but that will be coming up in the spring. So that's right after Easter, spring break. So
Courage of Capitalism.
The Courage of Capitalism, maybe, but they're all on the radio. So I was sort of thinking of that as a theme, but we'll see. We'll come up with a theme. So the first year we did the power of one person to make a difference. And then we did the Courage of Freedom. And this year I've got to come up with that little catchy title, but that's April 27th. So we look forward to that. And then we are hoping to do something down by Danielle, some kind of maybe a roundtable or panel about communism, because that's one of the things Danielle has had in mind. So look for that in the new year.
I love capitalism. It gets a bad name.
Yeah. So the idea would be to bring in people who have experienced communism to talk about it and, why they immigrated here, that kind of a thing. So it should be pretty cool. Anything else before we close and wish everybody a good holiday? Any
Can you
other
stop
thoughts?
sharing your screen?
Yep. Last thoughts.
Well, actually, can I add about Sue's lawsuit?
Yes, yeah, that I should mention. We mentioned precinct strategy, and then one of our volunteers, who's actually one of our founding members, has been trying to become a in New York. They're not. We don't have precincts. We have election districts, and they call them committee people. But she's been trying to become a committee person for a long time. She kept on getting rebuffed. So we had, through our precinct strategy, we assisted people who taught them the process. She went through the whole process of getting signatures to be a committee person in her election district, and how they treated her in Suffolk County was pretty reprehensible. And so she, with help from a team that we put together, did a pro se lawsuit, and basically, yeah, they want to settle. So go ahead, Anne-Marie, if you want to talk about it.
Sure. So what they did was Sue and other people had put designating petitions forward, whether it was for a council seat for a political party or an opportunity to ballot to put a write-in on the primary. All these people their petitions were invalidated in a meeting that was noticed but never publicized before the meeting, as required by open meetings law. And they were never notified as to the specific flaw that invalidated their petitions, giving them no option for an Article 16 to have it overturned so they could either get on the ballot or whatever the case may be. In Sue, we felt had a very strong case. It actually came to me from the person that couldn't do the opportunity to ballot, but they didn't believe their case was as strong. So, and I happened to call Kim on it, and she's like, "Oh my God, we got 5 candidates, you know." So we ended up hooking up with Sue. She felt very confident. She had a very good case, and we joined the two. We joined election law due process violations with open meetings law violation, because open meetings law can absolutely and only be done under an Article 78. And we knew if we combined the two, we knew they couldn't throw out the whole lawsuit. So we did it that way. We had a lot of struggles. I can just tell you, Suffolk is a whole different ballgame for courts. And Sue was tremendous in the amount of education, how she learned how to utilize the court system and the court library. And she had to learn more about election law, as I did. And we
All of
worked
us did.
together with the group to put together the statements of facts, the preliminary statement, the relief sought. And mind you, we asked for everything but the kitchen sink for the relief sought, as well as putting together the legal arguments. And we thought we had a great case. And once we got through all the hurdles and everything, because we had a lot of hurdles that most people don't have, because the commissioner's name was not her legal name. And that's how we filed under her fictitious name, found out it wasn't legal, and we had to change the whole thing. So we did get that done. Once it got all in, the opposing attorney, so the county attorney decided he wasn't going to try the case. They chose an outside attorney, and he put in for a motion to dismiss. Oral arguments were in 2 days. We got that, moved a month. And then Sue and I worked, I felt like it was day and night, to put together, she had to put together not only a statements of facts against the motion to dismiss, but then we had to put it in a separate affidavit in opposition, which was the legal argument. She worked really hard on the statement of facts, and I worked really hard on the legal argument. And the big thing for me, because I can't speak for her, but the big thing for me on the legal argument was deposing them on their choice of laches. So it's LACHES. This is what most Board of Elections use in order to win in court, is they claim laches, saying that the commissioners and the public were prejudiced. This one's untimely files and so forth. And I couldn't find a case that would support Sue. So instead, I went through AI and I asked AI to tell me how we could win a case. What we would need to win with laches? It gave me what they needed, and I used that against them because they didn't have it. And we used the unclean hands doctrine. So now so they did their oral arguments, which we do have that oral transcript, by the way. And Sue did very well. In fact, she did so well, it really, based on the whole case, it really sounded like the judge was in her corner and was her attorney, because he just went after the other attorney on everything. The next
great.
thing you know, they did sidebar, whatever it's called, where they no longer on the record. And it came back that they were going to try to work this out. So right now we're in the resolution stage, and Sue and everyone else worked to put together a really good resolution that we want them to implement. Okay. And we used everything that was actually in the original relief sought of the petition, but we added more. We added things like we asked for them to have training through the New York State Committee on Open Government. We also asked them to have New York State Department of State training on public hearings. We also asked them to have New York State Board of Election training so they could understand their administrative duties, type of thing. So we asked for a lot more, but we still tried to keep it towards the petition and not to be too greedy.
Yeah.
And still also requesting the annulment of the meeting, as well as the reversal of her denial of her petition. And I just have to point out something Kim brought up when we had this. We had a lot of live streams, or not live streams, but Zooms where we collaborated. And Kim brought up this really perfect thing that she stated, and it had to do with when they put up the motion to dismiss was the first time that Sue found out the actual flaw of her document. And that fatal flaw was that she didn't use the word member. So it was, for whether it's Democrat or Republican, it's the committee member. She didn't use the word member, but the one other thing too that Kim brought up was that they opened the door, and I loved it. So we put that into the to our affidavit or whatever it was called in opposition in the legal. We put the fact that they opened the door, and because they opened the door, we were able to bring in more evidence against them. And that was on the fact that the other two, we didn't know there was two candidates for that office for two seats. There was actually three candidates, but they never publicized the other two. They never ran. There was no ballot. There was no election results because they were unopposed. But they put that in the motion to dismiss that, oh yeah, well, they were elected. And what a prejudice that would be against the people who voted. But there was no election and there was no vote.
Not only that, they were from a different district. Their signatures weren't even accurate. So
Yeah,
the important thing
right.
about the pro se lawsuits that we did this year is it's such a challenge to get an attorney to take on your case. I mean, it's in a blue state, everybody's afraid of the attorney general. And not only that, I mean, financially, it's a challenge too as well. So the ability of citizens to learn how to do this, and then when we group together, when we get together as a team and everybody kind of does some research, we were able to do this twice successfully. Better probably than maybe even the attorneys would have done if they'd been handling it, if we'd had hired somebody. So that's the lesson here, you know, and obviously there, you know, I don't pretend to be an attorney and everything, but we were able to figure it out using using AI. That was a huge help for us this year. AI, we use that a lot. You know, just all a team putting together a team and everybody trying to figure it out themselves, you know, and do research. So I think I'm going to end on that note, on that idea of teamwork. I do want to put out an appeal for, you know, funding. If anybody is motivated by what they heard today on all our achievements, you know, we really could use help because we've got a lot on the plate for 2026. You know, a lot of us are self-funding this. We're not rich. I'm not rich and famous, but you know, it means so much to us, much to me, to have a country and a state that has liberty, that has freedom, so that future generations can have the world that I grew up in. And that seems to be eroding. And so, you know, if you are able and could, you know, just donate a little bit, we have a donation page on our website. Even just a little bit per month can help a lot too as well. So, and then if you want to jump in and volunteer, we would love for that too as well. There's, you know, whatever your skill, or as I call it, your superpower, whatever your superpower, you know, I'm sure we can find a spot for you. You don't have to, you know, if you're not the kind of person that can write articles but you'd be surprised. I bet you I could help you, you know, come along with that one. But whatever your skill is, I mean, we need all kinds, and we need people, you know, all kinds of skills to make this effort successful. And you know, it's a way to grow. You know, I've been involved in this whole effort with election integrity since 2020. And let me tell you, when I first made my first phone call to a legislator, I was scared to death. I don't know why, but I was scared about it. And so you grow and you live, and that's how you grow, is by being on the edge of your comfort zone and just kind of trying to take that next step forward. So we can help you, you know, feel more comfortable advocating for yourself and for your neighborhood, your city, your state, and your country. And we can do it together. And it's much more fun if we do it together. So on that note, I wish everybody a merry.
One second.
Oh,
One
yes.
We have a few forms of communication. Of course, we're on the email. You can email us anytime. You could do info if you don't remember who to email. I'm Danielle or Kim, Danielle C or Kim H. We're all over. Our names are all over. If you're on the Signal chat or you want to be on the Signal chat, let us know. You could be put on that, and you can communicate with us on Signal. And we also, at the bottom of our website, there's a phone number, feel free. You can contact us through the Project Civica phone number or text us, especially if you have information or you want to share something with us or anything like that, a connection, a fundraiser, a volunteer that you think would be useful to help benefit New York. Please let us know. Communicate with us. We want to hear from you.
All right, everybody. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and just enjoy and take a breather these next 3 weeks, if you can, if you're not so busy with tons of people in your house. But even that, enjoy the activity and enjoy family and friends. So Merry Christmas, and we will see everybody. We'll probably have an email or two out with we've got a Substack coming and a couple other things, but look for notifications.
Precinct strategy is Monday too.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Committee strategy, the last meeting is Monday. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And we will have one more voter roll research meeting on Wednesday next week too. So yes, there are meetings Monday, Wednesday, but I was talking about this meeting, the Thursday night meeting. So
and check your emails. Open
check
your newsletter.
Yes, open your newsletter. All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you, Sarah, for coming, and thank you, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
everybody else on the call. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good night.
Thank you. Happy holidays.